These are basically stamps that have a small area for your fingers to hold, and I'm going to roll this across this, the clay surface. So you can make anything from a straight line to a wavy line, a thick and thin line, a scalloped line. So some things to consider when I'm making these. I want to make sure that I've got a nice surface for my, my fingers to hold this. I want it to be relatively level, a pretty decent circle. I don't want it to be oval shaped, because as I'm rolling this across the clay surface, if I have some that are bulging out a little bit more than others, that's going to make a deeper impression. It could potentially cut through the clay. And I want to just think about what kind of thick line value do I want? Do I want it to be thicker? Do I want it to be thinner? Do I want it to be varied? So I'll be considering all those things as I'm making my stamp. So I'm going to start with a small amount of fresh clay, and smaller than what you think you would need. These are relatively thin as far as this direction, so if I use a large amount of clay, the bigger these get, the more unwieldy they are to use. So if I have one that's really wide, I have a hard time controlling it oftentimes, and it's hard to make the marks in the manner that I like to make them. So I'm going to use a small amount of clay, probably a little bit smaller than a ping pong ball size of clay, and I'm going to just roll it and pat it into a ball. I want to have a relatively good ball, because if this is a lot of variation, it's hard to get that nice and evenly spaced. So once I get my little clay ball that's slightly smaller than a ping pong ball, I'm going to take and use the concaveness of my hands, and I'm just going to kind of roll and smash that ball of clay in my hand. And what it's going to end up with is a tapered disc. So I'm just going to kind of be rolling it around in my hand and smashing it. And I'm going to kind of grip it and turn it and smash it more. And I end up with this little pancake that's a little bit thicker in the middle and thinner on the sides. So now I'm going to go ahead and create the space for my fingers to be. And I'm going to pinch and turn. If I were to just pinch here, I'm going to end up with something that's uneven, something that's more pinched there and less here. So as I'm rolling that, it would kind of bump in my fingers. So I want to create a surface that is even all the way around. So I'm going to kind of pinch and turn all the way around in the middle. It creates a nice little groove for my fingers to go in. So now I want to think about what kind of line do I want. Right now, if I were to use this as the stamp as it is, it would create a pretty wide rounded line. So I want to have something that's a little bit more tapered, create a mark that's going to be graphic and be something that's good to kind of section off places in clay. Maybe it'll indicate a change in your glazing. Maybe it's just going to be a line surface over and over again. So I'm going to use clean, dry fingers, and I'm going to just kind of pinch and turn. So I'm going to pinch this to try to taper off this edge of the clay surface. And I'm trying to evenly pinch this once again, because I don't want one side coming out more than another. So once I kind of go around a couple times, then I'm going to take damp fingers and just kind of glide over the surface to kind of make this tapered a little bit more, to come to a little bit more of a point. I don't want this to get soggy. I first created this tool because I wanted to make a nice clean straight line. And I realized quickly that it was hard to make a perfect line. And it's more interesting to have a varied line anyway. So I like the idea of maybe pinching this a little bit more in one area to have it be a thicker and thinner line. Maybe purposefully kind of tweaking this edge to have a slight curve in the line. So it's good to have a variety of these. So a lot of times I'll make several at once to create a variety of lines, and make some that are thicker, some that are thinner, some that are a little bit smaller. The smaller they are, the more control you have as you're using them. And sometimes it's nice to have them just slightly larger to have a little bit of, to be a little bit out of control, and it makes a little bit more of a natural mark and a little bit more varied. So this would be finished. So basically this would be a finished disc that creates a relatively straight line. It's going to be hard to get an exactly straight line. It might be good to find a manufactured tool for that if you're wanting a precisely straight line. But this could be finished. But I can also think about a variation. So I have some that are wavy and some that are scalloped. So, wavy one looks somewhat like this. So if I want something that's a little bit more of a consistent wave, I'm going to take and pinch with 2 fingers on one side, and I'm going to press up with my thumb on the other side. I want to make sure I'm not making this push over too much, because I want to make sure this is all still on that same plane as I'm using it. And then once I have got one little part pushed up, I'm going to put my finger on the downside of that little hill, and I'm going to push up again. I'll just do that all the way around, and this will create a relatively even wave on the surface of this stamp. And as easy as that, you can have this, and this would make a wavy mark, which I think is quite interesting. So it's nice to have that variation.